Have you ever wondered why God, being omnipotent and all-powerful, simply did not destroy Satan after his rebellion? This question is not merely a theological curiosity. It resonates deeply within our hearts and minds, challenging our understanding of the nature of God and the reality of evil in the world. If God is indeed the creator of all things and holds supreme authority over the universe, why did he allow Satan to continue existing and acting, causing pain, destruction, and leading people away from his presence? Jesus, in one of his most provocative statements, said he saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning. Luke 10:18. Yet even in light of this truth, the question remains, why did God not choose to eliminate Satan once and for all, ending his nefarious influence? This question not only challenges our understanding of good and evil, but also reveals deep secrets about the character of God, the purpose of human freedom, the reality of divine justice, and the role of evil in a plan much larger than we can comprehend. In today's video, we will explore this mystery in depth, investigating the biblical, spiritual, and philosophical reasons that underpin the continued existence of Satan. Throughout this journey, you will find that what we uncover will not only clarify doubts, but may also radically change the way you view the battle between good and evil, freedom and divine justice. Prepare for a deep dive into the spiritual narrative that shapes our understanding of creation, fall, and redemption, ultimately revealing the depth of God's love and justice. Before we can answer this intriguing question, we need to understand who Satan truly is and what he represents within God's creation plan. The name Satan is not just a title. It carries a purpose and a mission of opposition. Derived from Hebrew, Satan literally means adversary or opponent, and his existence as the fallen one refers not just to a singular event or a fall from the past, but to a continuous process of distancing from God, decline, and separation that never ends. Revelation 12:9 offers a powerful image of this condition, revealing that he was thrown into a bottomless pit, symbolizing the depth of his corruption and his incessant fall away from God's presence. This concept of a permanent fall is more than a metaphor or literary device. It represents the very essence of what pride and rebellion can do to any being. Satan chose to distance himself from God, and in doing so began to live in a state of continuous destruction, an existence where he not only fell, but continues to drift away from all that is holy, good, and pure, becoming the antithesis of everything God represents and expects from his creatures. In Proverbs 16:18, we find a warning about this reality. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. This verse is not merely a moral principle. It is ultimately a description of Satan's condition and what he has become over time. Satan is not just the adversary because he chose to rebel, but because this rebellion has transformed him into a being that continues to degrade, becoming more evil and corrupt as time passes. His identity and nature are in a constant state of degeneration, reflecting what happens to any being that rejects and rebels against the purpose for which it was created. Thus, the identity of Satan is built on a foundation of pride, ambition, and despair. He has become the embodiment of opposition, and his eternal destiny reflects the path he has chosen to tread in his relationship with God. But even understanding who he is and what he represents, we still need to answer the essential question: why does God allow this being to continue existing? This inquiry leads us not only to understand the nature of Satan, but also the essence of God's divine nature and the complexity of the free will he has granted creation. The answer begins to unfold when we consider that the existence of Satan is not merely a matter of divine choice, but a manifestation of the reality of the world we live in, where the freedom of choice is an intrinsic part of the relationship between the Creator and his creatures. The freedom of choice is a blessing, but it is also a risk. The fact that God himself chose to create beings endowed with free will demonstrates not only his love, but also the trust he places in his creations. The story of Satan does not begin as that of an enemy. He was created as a celestial being of glory, purity, and indescribable beauty, an angel of light who reflected the wisdom and perfection with which he was endowed by God. In Ezekiel 28:12-15, we find one of the richest and most detailed descriptions of this initial condition. You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created, till wickedness was found in you. This passage reveals that Satan, also known as Lucifer, was in fact a highly esteemed and elevated being, endowed with unique and extraordinary qualities, occupying a position of honor among God's angels. However, this position of excellence was not enough for him, as a desire to be equal to the Creator grew in his heart, an ambition to elevate himself above God himself. This desire and ambition led him to a breaking point, where he decided not only to abandon his original purpose, but also to challenge the divine order, seeking the worship and honor that belong exclusively to the Most High. Isaiah 14:12-14 captures this decisive moment when Lucifer's ambition transforms into rebellion. How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. Above the stars of God I will exalt my throne. I will be like the Most High. This was not a common ambition, but an attempt to usurp God's very throne, to invert the sacred order established by the Creator. Satan wanted more than to serve God. He wanted to be like God. Thus, what began as a silent and hidden desire turned into active rebellion, a movement he led, involving other angels who chose to follow him, driven by the same ambition to exalt themselves. This rebellion, however, did not go unanswered. God, who is holy and just, could not allow his creation to be distorted by such an act of transgression, and so Satan and all those who joined him were expelled from heaven. In Revelation 12:7-9, we find a representation of this celestial conflict, where Michael and his angels rose up to battle Satan's forces. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, which deceives the whole world. This is the origin of the opposition between good and evil, a conflict that continues to this day, manifesting in our reality and in our own spiritual struggle. It is important to note that the war in heaven was not just an isolated event, but a manifestation of the eternal conflict that would unfold throughout the history of creation. This battle represents the struggle not only for power, but for truth, for true worship, and for the integrity of God's creation. The expulsion of Satan from heaven was not merely a defeat for him, it was a triumph for divine order, where God's sovereignty prevailed over unbridled ambition. What followed this expulsion was a new phase of the conflict, now unfolding on earth, where humanity would become the central battleground. With Satan's expulsion from heaven, he was cast down to earth, where he began his mission to deceive and destroy God's creation. This new phase of the spiritual conflict is marked by temptations, lies, and a constant struggle against the truth. The entry of evil into the world was not only a consequence of Satan's rebellion, but also a call for humanity to take sides in this cosmic battle between good and evil. Satan's presence becomes a determining factor in the narrative of salvation, where every choice made by a human being becomes an essential part of this struggle. To understand why God does not eliminate Satan, we need to recognize that God does not operate according to human logic, which often seeks simple solutions to complex problems. Instead, God acts according to his divine nature and the principles he established for creation. God is spirit, as stated in John 4:24, and he created angels, including Satan, as spiritual beings as well. This aspect of their existence implies that they cannot be destroyed in a simple manner, like physical matter can be. Satan's spiritual nature means that he is not susceptible to destruction in the same way that humans or physical objects are. Moreover, there is a profound purpose behind Satan's survival. as God is not just a creator who exterminates what is inconvenient to him. He is the sovereign Lord who allows even evil to be redirected to fulfill his supreme purposes. In Romans 8:28, Paul reminds us that all things work together for the good of those who love God, and this all things includes even the forces of opposition, the evil and rebellion that Satan represents. This implies that the presence of Satan is not merely a coincidence, but an intrinsic part of the divine plan. Often what seems to be a contradiction in divine sovereignty is, in fact, one of the most powerful demonstrations of his greatness. God allows Satan to continue existing not because he cannot destroy him, but because he chooses to transform him into a part of the greater plan, where evil paradoxically serves the good. This truth may be difficult to comprehend with our limited human perspective, but it is precisely this kind of paradox that reveals the complexity and depth of God's wisdom. The existence of Satan is not just an inconvenient reality, it is a constant reminder of God's commitment to free will and to the purpose of creation, where each being is invited to voluntarily participate in his plan, and where every choice has weight and eternal consequences. The fact that Satan still exists serves as a constant test for humanity, an opportunity to reaffirm faith and loyalty to God amidst temptation. This spiritual struggle manifests in our daily lives, where each decision becomes an expression of our willingness to follow God or to succumb to temptations. Satan's presence also reminds us of the gravity of the choices we make. He acts as an agent that prompts us to confront our beliefs and values, forcing us to make decisions that define our spiritual identity. Free will not only defines each being's relationship with God, but is also the foundation for the existence of genuine love and worship. Without the capacity to choose, love cannot be authentic and commitment cannot be true. God could have created beings that obey automatically, leaving no room for questioning or choice, but he chose to offer freedom, even knowing the risks involved. This divine choice to grant freedom, even at the cost of the possibility of rebellion, is one of the greatest demonstrations of his trust in his creatures and his respect for each one's potential. When Satan decided to rebel against God, he did so with complete freedom and awareness, which makes his choice even more significant, as it was a deliberate decision, a rejection of the purpose for which he was created. Therefore, the presence of Satan reflects this freedom of choice, an inevitable consequence of God's commitment to authentic freedom and the integrity of his own laws. By allowing Satan and other angels to follow their choice, God reaffirms the value and seriousness of free will. If he were to immediately destroy those who chose evil, the idea of free choice would become empty, and love and worship would no longer be genuine choices, but forced actions, lacking real value. Furthermore, free will is essential for the authenticity of relationships. The ability to choose is not a burden, but a gift that allows us to experience true love. It is through this freedom that we can love God genuinely, not out of obligation, but by choice. Each act of faith, each decision to follow God reflects this freedom. This means that even in the face of temptation and evil represented by Satan, we still have the capacity and power to choose the path of obedience and faithfulness. The freedom God grants us is a gift that comes with the responsibility to make wise choices. Every choice we make reflects our understanding of who God is and of his character. Love, when genuine, must be chosen and not imposed. It is this choice that shapes not only our lives, but also the story of salvation and the relationship between God and humanity. The freedom God grants us is an invitation to live authentically, embracing the responsibility that comes with choosing good over evil. Surprisingly, Satan, despite being the declared enemy of God, played a crucial role in the redemptive plan for humanity. It is a paradox that the very presence of evil has been used by God to accomplish his redemptive work, as Satan's role as tempter and adversary became, in fact, a platform for Jesus to demonstrate his faithfulness and holiness. In the episode of Jesus' temptation in the wilderness, described in Matthew 4:1-11, Satan attempts to divert Jesus from his mission by offering him alternatives that could satisfy his hunger, security, and status without the need to endure the suffering of the cross. However, Jesus' resistance to these temptations is proof that he is the obedient Son of God, worthy to be the Savior of humanity. His resistance not only demonstrated his ability to remain faithful to his mission, but also validated his purity and dignity as the perfect sacrifice, the one who could bear the sins of humanity. The presence of Satan, then, served to test and confirm Christ's holiness, showing the world and the spiritual realm that Jesus was indeed the unblemished Lamb, the obedient and worthy Son. Moreover, Judas' betrayal, in which Satan entered Judas, John 13:27, was a crucial moment in the history of salvation. This betrayal, motivated by Satan's direct influence, led Jesus to the crucifixion, the central moment of God's redemptive plan. The irony of this event is revealing, for in attempting to defeat Jesus and thwart his ministry, Satan inadvertently collaborated, albeit unconsciously, with God's ultimate purpose to bring salvation to the world. The story of the crucifixion reveals a surprising dimension of God's sovereignty. Even evil, when challenged by divine wisdom, becomes a tool for fulfilling his purposes. Satan's influence in Judas's betrayal was not merely an act of wickedness. It was part of a much larger plan in which God used Satan's very opposition to achieve victory over sin and death. Thus, Satan's presence is not only tolerated but becomes, in a mysterious way, an essential component in the realization of the redemptive plan, demonstrating that God's power is so absolute that he can transform even rebellion into an instrument of salvation. Satan's presence also underscores the necessity of a conscious and deliberate choice on the part of humanity. Each temptation we face is an opportunity to confirm our fidelity to God and our willingness to follow the path of truth and light. By resisting temptations, we reaffirm our identity as God's sons and daughters, and this serves as a powerful testimony to those around us. The struggle against evil, therefore, is not just a personal battle, but a collective expression of the conflict between good and evil, where each of us plays a fundamental role in the narrative of redemption. Another fundamental aspect we need to consider to understand why God does not destroy Satan is God's patience and justice. In 2 Peter 3:9, we read that the Lord is patient, not wanting anyone to perish, but for all to come to repentance. This divine patience is not synonymous with complacency or acceptance of evil. It is an extension of his justice, which requires that judgment be given at the right moment, when all aspects and consequences of each being's choices are fully revealed and understood. God does not act impulsively, nor does he hasten to eliminate any opposition, but allows evil to exist temporarily so that all acts, decisions, and consequences can be known and evaluated before the final judgment. God has established a set time for the judgment of Satan and his angels, as we read in Revelation 20 verse 10, where Satan will ultimately be thrown into the lake of fire and brimstone, destined for eternal punishment. Until then, however, God allows time to pass, demonstrating that his justice is based on complete truth and the full revelation of each being's actions. Divine patience, then, is not a weakness, but a manifestation of God's integrity, who does not desire to act arbitrarily or hastily. He wants all, both humans and spiritual beings, to see and understand the consequences of evil, so that no one can question the righteousness of his decisions on the day of judgment. This patience allows for the full revelation of the character of Satan and the fallen angels, so that their intentions and the depth of their corruption become evident to all creation. The time God grants is not a concession to evil, but a period of revelation and testimony, so that in the final judgment, God's justice is undeniable and his authority recognized as just and true. In other words, Satan's final judgment will not be an impulsive act of vengeance, but the culmination of a story of rebellion and opposition that has had its time and opportunities, and whose consequences have been fully experienced and revealed. God's ability to allow the existence of evil while maintaining his justice and sovereignty is a characteristic of his nature. This tension between good and evil, where justice and patience intertwine, leads us to understand that divine justice is comprehensive, encompassing not only the punishment of evil, but also the revelation of good. Thus, even amid the presence of evil, God remains faithful to his commitment to justice and love. Understanding this divine patience is crucial, as it shows us that the story of redemption is not only about the punishment of evil, but also about the opportunity for redemption for all created beings. God's justice is not an abstract concept, but a lived reality that shapes human and spiritual experience. Satan's presence in the world also has direct implications for humanity, as his existence and actions serve as a test and an opportunity for growth for all those who seek God. The temptation and opposition that Satan presents are not merely obstacles. They are opportunities for the development of virtues such as faith, perseverance, and resilience. James 1:12 reminds us, "Blessed is the man who endures temptation, for when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him." The struggle against evil, therefore, is not just a battle, but a form of spiritual strengthening, a process through which God's followers become more resilient and steadfast in their faith. Each time a person faces temptation and chooses to follow God, that choice reinforces and deepens their faith, demonstrating their commitment and love for the Creator. The presence of Satan and evil in the world forces us to make conscious and firm decisions, challenging us to resist what is easy and convenient and to choose what is right and just. This decision-making process is essential for character development, as it helps us grow, understand ourselves better, and depend more on God in our spiritual journey. Moreover, resistance to evil helps us develop a deeper understanding of God and his power. Victory over temptation not only strengthens our faith, but also brings us closer to God, as we recognize that our strength to resist does not come from ourselves, but from his support and constant presence. Therefore, the evil that Satan represents becomes a platform for believers to demonstrate their faithfulness and trust in God, allowing their lives to become living testimonies of the transforming power of faith. Resisting temptation is a crucial element for character formation. Every time we choose the right path, even when it is difficult, we are shaping our identity as followers of Christ. This battle against evil teaches us to depend on God in moments of weakness and to recognize that in our own strength we are unable to resist. However, with God's help, we are more than conquerors. The presence of Satan, therefore, serves not only as a challenge, but also as an opportunity for us to reflect on our choices and the nature of our faith. Each victory over temptation not only strengthens us, but also brings us closer to our divine purpose. At the heart of all this is God's desire for his creatures to choose good of their own accord, for worship and obedience to him to be authentic and not forced. God could easily eliminate any form of evil, could destroy Satan and all those who oppose him, but that would not be a solution that respects the original purpose of his creation. As we read in 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, kind, and does not seek its own interests, and that is what God desires from his creatures. A love that is chosen, a faith that is embraced willingly, and a worship that comes from a free heart. Satan's presence in the world offers a real alternative to good, a choice that every human being can make. This choice is crucial, for without it, love and fidelity to God would not hold the same meaning. God desires followers who love him for who he is, who choose good because they understand and value his holiness and justice, and not out of fear or coercion. The presence of evil, paradoxically, allows every act of love, obedience, and faith to be a true expression of the freedom that God grants to all. This is where the depth of choice is revealed. Choosing to follow God in a world where evil exists is not just an act of faith, it is an affirmation that we prefer light over darkness, life over death. Each time we opt for God, even in the face of difficulties and temptations, we're exercising the freedom he has given us and demonstrating that our love is genuine. This authentic choice for good in a world full of options is what defines us as followers of Christ. The freedom God grants us is a gift that comes with the responsibility of making wise choices. Each choice we make reflects our understanding of who God is and of his character. Love, when genuine, must be chosen and not imposed. It is this choice that shapes not only our lives, but also the story of salvation and the relationship between God and humanity. The freedom God gives us is an invitation to live authentically, embracing the responsibility that comes with choosing good over evil. God's decision not to destroy Satan and to allow his continued existence as an adversary in the world reveals the depth of his commitment to free will, justice, patience, and the spiritual growth of his creatures. By permitting Satan to continue to exist, God is not only exercising his sovereignty, but also giving us the opportunity to genuinely choose good, to grow in faith and character, and to become true followers who choose to love God amid temptation and adversity. Each challenge that Satan represents is a chance to demonstrate faithfulness and strengthen our commitment to the Creator. The existence of Satan ensures that each choice and each act of faith carries real weight, an eternal value. Ultimately, God, in his infinite wisdom and justice, will use every aspect of this conflict, every act of rebellion, and every moment of temptation to shape the final plan, where his love and justice will be fully revealed and understood by all of creation. May this understanding lead us to value God's purpose and the freedom he grants us, remembering that our struggle against evil is, in fact, an opportunity to demonstrate the worth of faith and love for the one who created us. As we reflect on Satan's presence and the reasons God does not destroy him, we are challenged to consider the nature of our own choices and what they signify in our spiritual journey. The story of creation, fall, and redemption is a narrative rich in complexity and depth, with a God at its center who offers us freedom and love, even when that means allowing evil to exist for a time. Every act of resistance to evil is a declaration that we choose good, even in a world filled with challenges. The struggle against Satan and his schemes is not just a personal battle, but a reflection of the greater struggle between good and evil unfolding throughout the cosmos. Thus, as we contemplate the presence of Satan and the reason God allows him to exist, let us recognize that our freedom is a precious gift that should be cherished and used to glorify the one who gave us life and choice. May the light of God shine in our lives, guiding us through darkness, and may we always choose the path that leads to life. Every choice we make impacts not only our lives, but also the spiritual realm. Each resistance to evil is an affirmation that we choose the light, that we decide to walk the path of truth, and that, despite temptations and tribulations, our hearts remain steadfast in the pursuit of God. Therefore, may we remain vigilant, aware of Satan's presence, but also filled with the assurance that victory has already been won in Christ. Moreover, reflecting on the nature of Satan and why God allows him to exist leads us to a deeper understanding of God's grace and mercy. Even amid evil, God does not distance himself from us. His presence is a constant reminder that, despite difficulties, he is always by our side, offering love, compassion, and an opportunity for redemption. This spiritual journey is ultimately a quest for true freedom, where we are invited to experience the fullness of life in Christ and reflect His light in a world that often seems shrouded in darkness. May this understanding of the spiritual struggle inspire us to remain steadfast in our faith, knowing that each battle is an opportunity to glorify God and to grow in our relationship with Him. Let us always choose the path that leads to life, valuing the freedom given to us and recognizing the importance of our choices in God's grand design.